I remember a gentleman from Colombia, did not know any word of English at all, came to see me, so he brought an interpreter with him. And the interpreter carried a large piece of paper. It must have been 20 questions on it. And the interpreter said, this gentleman would like to ask questions. And I have brought this. Now, after he listens to your talk, I'll bring him over to ask his questions. The gentleman nodded because he didn't know what we were talking about. He had no idea of English language. He heard one talk which was translated by an automatic translation system they had installed there. So it translated into Spanish. After that, they both came into my small room where we were having interviews, and the man interpreter began to read the questions. Shall I read the questions? This man snatched the paper and tore it up and threw it away and said, "Muchas gracias." And went away. We were both left surprised. Both the interpreter who had brought the paper, who thought he had some job to do, suddenly lost his job. Questions only come to us because our mind comes in the way. We have no questions. What questions can you have? The soul is desiring to reach its own true home, to find its own totality. Where is the question? What question can you possibly ask? It's a seeking of the soul for its own totality within. How can there be a question? But we ask questions. We ask a lot of questions only to satisfy our mind. And the mind is the one that asks the questions. The mind wants to make sense of what we are doing. The mind wants answers to questions to understand intellectually the whole process. And the mind stumbles upon certain areas where it cannot find answers. And therefore, sometimes we keep asking questions all our life and make no progress. There's a story my master used to tell. He said once upon a time there was a philosopher, an intellectual guy who was thinking too much, and he was walking in one village. In that village they had wells with no parapet walls around them, so they were level with the ground, and while he was thinking of something, he fell into the well. When he fell into the well fortunately did not have very deep water, so he was in that little water, and he was moaning and groaning, "Where have we fallen?" And a man heard, a passerby, a villager, heard his moaning and groaning, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you fell into the well. I'll go and bring a rope." He said, "Wait, before you bring the rope, tell me, why did I fall into the well?" He said, "I wasn't there when you fell into the river, but won't you like to come out first?" "No, I want to know, how will you take me out?" He said, "I'll bring a rope. I have a rope with me. I'll lower the rope, and then you hold it. You can climb on the rope, or I'll pull you out." He said, "But what is the guarantee? How will I be sure you will bring a rope? And supposing you bring a rope and lower it, how do you know when I'm halfway up, you won't drop me again?" He said, "Can't we have all these dialogue after you come out of the well?" "No, but first you must give me guarantee." "How will I know?" He said, "All right, you stay in the well." Then he left the rope and walked away. You know, so many of us are so much concerned with questions to try to satisfy our intellect, to satisfy our own mind, that we spend a lifetime asking questions and making no progress. Here we are dealing with something that is beyond the mind. We are talking of our own true self. We are talking of our soul, that which creates consciousness, that makes us alive. That's the life force we have. And it's the life force that wants to join its totality. It is feeling it's separated. It is feeling that it is not whole, and we are trying to make it whole. Where is the question? If you tell me, if a soul is screaming to go back home, tell me what kind of question can you ask? There is no question you can ever ask.